Good Friday afternoon. My name is Jerry Miller. Welcome to the I Love CVille show. It's great to be with you. We're live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world. On the I Love CVille network, we have a good show lined up for you. Yesterday, we did a beta test with a headline-focused show. Today, we're going to follow up after watching the beta test and see if we can improve the model. One of the things you'll notice, and let me know when we can get those on screen, or if they're on screen now, Judah, is a skin of headlines or a theme that's on the screen right now. Kind of a graphic design that we're coming together. We're going to model this a little bit after PTI. I grew up watching Tony and Mike on Pardon the Interruption. We're going to do a localized version, an I Love CVille Jerry Miller influence version of the show. But this offers an opportunity for you, the viewer, to understand what is on the horizon for this program. Judah, give me a thumbs up when that is on screen, and we'll go from there. I'm very excited about this program. Look at it now. We'll get better as we continue to improve, but one of the things you'll notice is headlines where we're going to go with the show. We're doing that so you can kind of figure out what's coming up, get your mind right, offer perspective, and share thoughts on the program. We're going to have a good time, okay? We're an advertising agency, 113 clients on our roster, two of our absolute favorites, Interstate Pest and Service Companies and Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. Interstate, 4 generations of family behind it. I mean, a home's best friend, Interstate Pest and Service Companies, guys. And how about the phenomenal people at Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine? I think Dr. Wagner is changing people's lives through chiropractic care, sports medicine, and physical therapy. Instagram, hello. LinkedIn, hello. Twitter, hello. Facebook, across the network, hello. You see the headlines on screen. It'll be a snapshot of what's coming up on the show. We also may include a timer of some kind next week for each show topic, so it allows us to keep the tempo going. Innovation, improvement, continuing every day to try to get better at what we do for you, the viewer. That's what we're trying to do. All right, Judah, first headline, Albemarle County Supervisors. Let's go to the headline on screen. So, folks, something I talked about yesterday, before it got in the newspapers, before it got on the TV stations, was on Wednesday at 10:51 p.m., under the cloak of darkness and clandestine nature, as local media deadlines had already passed us, Ned Galloway and Ann Malik and Ms. Palmer and our fabulous Albemarle County Boards of Supervisors, they have a conversation in closed-door fashion about Phase 2 in Albemarle County, and the need for the county of Albemarle to be pushed back from Phase 3 into Phase 2. Well, this happened on Wednesday evening under the cloak of darkness. A viewer of this program who is fantastic from a journalistic standpoint, and his name is Gary Grant. He gave a very good synopsis to me, Gary did, of what happened on this Wednesday Albemarle County Board of Supervisors meeting. So, folks, on Thursday on the show, we say this is a really big deal. But because it happened after deadline on Wednesday night, no one really knew about it to our show on Thursday. Then I'm like, good Lord, going from Phase 3 to Phase 2 is going to stifle business. We need to get the community, get the word out there in the community and let people know about this. Well, after the show we did yesterday, you see them, because the news outlets watch this program, you saw on the news and you see in print and on their digital platforms, Albemarle County in Phase 2. Judah put it back on screen if you haven't already done it. It's on screen behind me, right here. Ann Malik went as far as to say, you know, if the students at the University of Virginia are not being mindful of COVID, that's an honor code violation. That's a topic for another time. This is what I have heard since putting this into the Charlottesville ecosystem. And Judah, you got a side panel you need to get back up on screen here. This is what I've heard from folks in Albemarle County since we talked about this yesterday. The vineyards and wineries and the breweries are extremely concerned that Albemarle County's Board of Supervisors does not see the forest through the trees. The vineyards, the breweries, the wineries, the small businesses have said, we have just gone from, baseline, March, where COVID ravaged this community. We were quarantined and we were put in our homes to flatten the curve, which we did. And now we've gone from that to phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So the businesses in the county, I'd say close to 30 or 40 since Wednesday, realistically and conservatively, have said the supervisors don't realize what this is going to do to not only as us, as small business owners, but to our staff that we've brought back to our business, many through a PPP format. And they don't realize what this is going to do from a tax revenue standpoint and how it's going to impact 2021. So I'm going to say this again to the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. And there's one supervisor that has tremendous tenure and tremendous influence. And if you notice by watching these meetings, which I routinely do, when Ann Malik talks, people listen. And she's driving this home, the move from 3 to 2. Okay? Ann's driving this. So I'm going to have this message to the Albemarle Board of Supervisors that are watching the show. Please understand the significance of moving from phase 3 to 2. Please understand that the businesses that are now in phase 3 are fighting tooth and nail just to survive. Many have taken PPP money to return their employees to payroll. And if you drop them from 3 to 2, you risk them not having the business to keep their team members on staff. And there's certainly no guarantee that more PPP money is coming back that will help stimulate a return of bringing them back on staff if you go from phase 3 to phase 2. Furthermore, Albemarle County Board of Supervisors, Ann Malik, if you go from phase 3 to phase 2, not only will you cost Albemarle County residents jobs, not only will you put the backs of small business owners across Albemarle County yet again against the wall because of poor forward thinking, but you certainly will negatively impact Albemarle County in totality because you're going to stifle or you're going to dampen or you're going to slow down the collection of tax revenue tied to retail, food and beverage, hospitality, and hotel by moving from 3 to 2. So please, for once, I encourage you 6 folks, someone tell them I'm talking about them. Please, for once, I encourage you 6 folks that are running Albemarle County to see the forest through the trees and understand that if you make a decision of taking the county from 3 to 2, people will lose their jobs. Small businesses will go dark and close their doors permanently. And the tax revenue for fiscal 2021 and beyond will be negatively impacted. See the forest through the trees, Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. And frankly, pick up the phone and call people in the community. This works as a phone where you can talk on. I learned this from Keith Smith. Pick up the phone and talk to people in the community that are at the small businesses and say, this is our plan. We're thinking about going from 3 to 2. What are your thoughts? You're going to be shocked by what you're going to hear because I'm hearing it now. Let's go to the next headline. UVA reopening. Judah. Let's get that headline on screen. Judah Wickower is our fabulous director. Love Judah Wickower. 8 years working side by side on the team. UVA is going to require COVID-19 testing for all students before returning to grounds. Awesome. Before you can return to grounds, you have to do a test yourself. If you don't have access to a test, you contact UVA. UVA will mail you a test kit for free. It's part of your tuition, let's be honest. But they'll mail you a test kit. You then have to submit this test kit before you are allowed entry into Charlottesville, Virginia. So boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, viewers of this fine program, students must test negative before returning to Charlottesville. UVA's putting the first foot forward of saying, here's our plan for reopening. UVA is trying to be a good steward for the community because everyone in not everyone, a lot of folks in Charlottesville are terrified of 25,000 kids coming to Charlottesville. And perhaps we saw a snapshot of what 25,000 kids coming to Charlottesville, maybe a microcosm this past weekend at Midsummer's when a couple hundred UVA students were rage caging around grounds, were rage caging around 14th Street. If I was 20 years old and I spent Midsummer's here. If I was 20 years old, Charlottesville Midsummer's, I would be taking keg stands right now. So I don't necessarily fault UVA students because they're 18 to 22-year-olds. And like a lot of 18 to 22-year-olds, at that time of your life, you do what feels good without thinking down the road or without fear of ramifications. UVA is saying you're going to take a negative test before you return to Charlottesville. I have some questions that need to be answered. Are you ready for these questions? Question number 1. It's fine and dandy that students are being tested before coming to grounds. How is the testing and the tracing and the insistence on using masks and other PPE, how is this going to be policed by the university? How is this going to be enforced? Another question I have for folks watching the program. I went to UVA. I was in old dorms my first year. I was in Dabney, which is an old dorm on grounds at UVA. There's old dorms and new dorms. Old dorms were built older than the new dorms that are built more recently. That's why they're called old dorms and new dorms. Nothing crazy. So I'm in old dorms. I dated a girl in my dorm. We call that dorm cest in college. The question I have for anyone that's watching this program and the University of Virginia itself, why or how do we handle this problem? Jerry in Dabney 101 gets COVID. How do you prevent the rest of the dorm that is in very close proximity of Jerry and Dabney 101 from also contracting this virus or getting this virus? It's a very confined setting. You share showers. First floor in Dabney, when I was in school, and it's still the case, the first floor was dudes. The second and third floor were girls. So when I moved in, I'm first year, and I find out I'm in a dorm of 30 dudes and 60 women? That's what I'm talking about, okay? One of the things I can tell you is each floor in my particular dorm that is still being utilized shares a shower. So 30 dudes in one shower that's probably made up of 6 showers and 6 toilets and 6 sinks. That's the case for the second and third floor. If Jerry gets it in 101 and is asymptomatic for a couple of weeks and proceeds to shower in the shower and brush his teeth in the sink and wash his hands in the sink and go to the bathroom and the toilets, which everybody does, what happens? How do you handle that? How do you manage that? Also left out in UVA's reopening plans before we head to the next headline, boys and girls, is sports. And sports is, I'll get to that later in the show. In fact, I need to pay attention to the graphic, don't I? When it comes to skins and shambles and no football in the CAA and high school bowl season, we'll get to that. Let's welcome some people to the show. Hey, Curtis Shaver, hello. John from Pro Renata's watching. Hello, John. Lauren, hello. John David Polson, hello. Ray Cadell, Vanessa Parkhill, hello. Hello. Dave Warwick, hello. Gary Grant's watching. Dan Heron, hello. Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, hello. Roughly 4,300. All right, new story. Follow UVA reopening. Follow UVA reopening. We still don't know if UVA what it will do for fall sports. In all the hotel rooms, a lot of the hotel rooms in this area are still reserved for fall football games. The wedding and the hospitality in the events community in Central Virginia is pleading and begging and insisting and encouraging, asking UVA to make a determination of what its plans are for football as soon as possible, because we have an industry that employs a lot of people. We have a category of business in wedding and events that is suffering right now because they don't have the hotel rooms to accommodate weddings and events coming up because they're being reserved for a football season that may or may not happen. It is a conundrum. It is a conundrum. Give the show a like and a share on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook. Give it a like. Give it a share. All right, let's go to gambling in Charlottesville. Wow, this topic got me in the crosshairs of some people in Charlottesville, Virginia. You talk about slot machines on the downtown mall and woo-hoo-hoo. People come out of the woodwork. Well, folks, I told you this was going to happen. We were right. Last week, we showed a photo of a lot of slot machines inside Prime 109 on the Charlottesville downtown mall. Immediately, there was a social media firestorm. And I was then inundated by text messages, phone calls, and emails from business owners in the city and in downtown Charlottesville and Albemarle County thanking me for bringing this up to people's attention. Many of them restaurants, many of them breweries and wineries that said they were pitched these machines as well, and few took the bait. The ones that passed on the bait said, we don't think we should be making money this way. We know the machines are at Prime. The Shebeen has machines, slot machines. Wild Wolf Brewing Company in Nellysford has gambling machines as well. I'll leave that to the side for now, and I will get to the story that's in the Daily Progress today. A direct correlation, a direct reflection, a direct cause and effect of the I Love CVille show, and putting that photo on screen, is the story you see by the Daily Progress and Tyler Hamill about skill machines. So here's the nitty-gritty. I'm going to read some items from the article. And Judah, why don't I put it on the big screen behind me? Why don't we improve? Curtis, if you're still watching, Curtis Shaver, good friend of this show, made a good point that it's difficult to see what's on this screen. And words, this is more about photos, but he's right. We need to make the viewing on this screen more dynamic and tangible, approachable, and easier to see. So this gentleman, I'm just showing photos here, C-Shave. This gentleman, I know you're watching, is a lawyer. This is Charlottesville's Commonwealth's attorney, right here. Charlottesville's Commonwealth's attorney. And long story short, a company that has a subsidiary in Virginia. This company's out of Georgia, Queen of Virginia, and some other skill machine manufacturers. These companies, they filed a lawsuit against Charlottesville's Commonwealth attorney who tried to keep these machines from coming to the city. And finally, the lawsuit was dropped. It was filed in June of 2019. Here's how it shook out. I told you this last week. Now it's in the newspaper. Now it's on the TV news. Now it's on the radio. We'll just put it out there first. We follow this stuff closer than others. So, long story short, Governor Ralph Northam. This is how we have gambling machines on the downtown mall. And you're going to see me reading verbatim from an article that's also on screen behind me. We will include this link in the package of the story when we archive it on this website right here, ilovecville.com. Governor Ralph Northam. Slippery guy, this Ralph guy. Slippery guy. Ralph's had a very, how would you characterize his tenure, Judah? Ralph has had a very tenuous and slippery and concerning tenure for a number of reasons. Safe to say. So in April, Ralph signed a bill that announced that skill games would be allowed to operate within Virginia until June 30, 2021 in a taxed and regulated environment. The Virginia legislation, through a bill called SB 971. SB 971, right there. The Virginia legislation, and this is why legislators were calling me last week. They put a bill into place that said, we can't have these gambling machines. Gambling sketch. Gambling breeds a certain type of activity, certain type of clientele. We can't have these machines. Ralph says, you know what? I agree with you, but I'm going to pass some legislation myself that allows these machines until June of next year, as long as you get them in and you slip them in under the radar and slip them in real quick before June 30th of this year. I need to do it for the tax revenue, for the taxes, for the money. It's all about money when it comes to politicians. It's all about money, guys. It's all about money, influence, and power. And if you don't believe that, you're not reading the tea leaves correctly. Long story short, these machines allowed until June 30th of 2021. You had to get these machines on premise before June 30th of this year. You could always give the machines back. You could not get more machines after June 30th. So read the Daily Progress article. We covered this last week. The Virginia legislation, Virginia delegates don't want these damn things. Communities don't want these damn things. The Commonwealth's attorney of Charlottesville was trying to kibosh and prevent these damn things from happening. It took the influence, it took the money and the persistence and power of a wealthy guy in Georgia who bamboozled and pushed this through the Commonwealth of Virginia. Somehow. I mean, dude's got some influence, right? Dude in Georgia. So there she is. And why these games are allowed, and we'll go to the next topic here, but why these games are allowed is because there's a quote-unquote, and it's on screen behind me. You know what? Let's zoom in. Let's zoom in really, really good here. Here, I was like, whoa. Skill in air quotes. Whenever something is in air quotes, you should be concerned about the validity of what it is. Why these machines are allowed is because the machines are considered skill. There's a skill factor which allows the machines to not be considered gambling. What is the skill factor? I'm going to cut to the chase. If you're gambling, I like to gamble. I like to go to casinos. I'm an entrepreneur. I gamble by nature. I'm a real estate investor. I speculate where a market is going. I put hundreds of, in totality, a few million bucks up and said, I'm going to risk this money on these properties over this payment window at this interest rate because I think I can get these tenants to cover this nut, and if I can get to this time frame, my debt service evaporates, and then the tenant revenue's gravy train. That's freaking gambling. But I'm gambling on something I know inside and out. I'm gambling with the value of a network that reaches a ton of people, so if I have vacancy, I could put the vacancy in front of these people. As a result, I've minimized the risk. I've hedged the risk. I've made the opportunity or the endeavor less risky, more profitable, more lucrative, more generationally impacting. When it comes to gambling, if you're sitting in front of a machine and you're feeding this machine dollars or quarters or whatever the hell it is, and it's a machine with a screen in front of you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the odds are against you, okay? They're stacked against you. Play a blackjack, a hold'em, play some table games, okay? Better odds. Play the pass line in craps. Better odds than sitting in front of video crack and wasting your life away. That's going to catch, Curtis, I'm going to catch some heat for that. I'm going to catch some heat for that, C-Shape. Next headline we are going to go to, boys and girls, is angry Virginia teachers. Oh my, oh my, oh my. I'm going to call it up on screen as well. This is the Virginia Teachers Association in Virginia Beach. I got a couple of questions for people that are watching the show. Here in a matter of moments, I'll get to questions. Folks that are watching this show, help me learn something. Virginia Beach has a teachers association, which I'm about to tell you about, the Virginia Beach Education Association. They issued a statement for teachers at Virginia Beach. That story's behind me. I'm going to get to that in moments. Fairfax in Northern Virginia has 3 teachers' associations in Fairfax. This is the question I have for you. I literally don't know this. I'm asking for your help. Albemarle County Public and Charlottesville City Public, what kind of associations or groups are there to help galvanize the teachers? I'm just curious. Is there a clear-cut association with clear-cut leadership, with clear-cut communication channels, offering a clear-cut mission and vision and strategy for moving forward? There doesn't appear to be, but I could be wrong. It seems very splintered and not as organized as an association should be. Anyway, I'm just curious if you could let me know by putting the comment in the comment section. I will relay your comments, and I'm going to get to all these comments from Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook here in a matter of moments. So Virginia Beach's Teacher Association, this is the headline, is straight up pushing back, downright angry. The teachers do not want to go back to in-person classes in the fall because of the coronavirus pandemic. The 3 options that have been presented are virtually the same, virtually, pun intended. The 3 options are virtually the same in most of the school systems. Some kind of abbreviated in-person education for the younger kids versus a more virtual education for the older kids. Special needs kids get more in-person instruction as well. Long story short, the Virginia Beach Teachers Association says, hell no, we won't go. Hell no, we won't go. We don't want to teach in the fall. So it's happening everywhere. Los Angeles County is 100% virtual. San Diego, 100% virtual. Fairfax doesn't want to do it. I'm hearing from people inside Albemarle County's office building that virtual is pretty darn close to being decided for the county. Okay, I'm hearing that right now. How that's going to impact parents across America, time will tell. But the New York Times did a story, and this is our next headline, Judah Wickower. Our next headline, boys and girls, is public versus private. And I'm just going to stand up here. One of the things that I think we're good at is seeing ahead and seeing where things are going before other people. I mean, it's important for business. It's important in a lot of things in life. We've been talking about on this program, private versus public schools. Private versus public schools. And Judah, put the New York Times headline on screen. The New York Times has a story in today's newspaper about the disparity between private and public school education and how this will set a generation of students back at levels we've never seen before. Have we not been talking about that as a team on this show? Hell yeah, we have. The New York Times has a story in today's paper of how public schools or private schools, private schools are more nimble, have more advancements in technology, have newer buildings, have larger campuses and acreage so they could do outside classes, how they pivoted quickly this past semester to virtual learning where a lot of the public schools struggled. Every single thing we have been talking about for 2 weeks is now in the New York Times, the world's newspaper. If we are not considering the generational setback it's going to have between private and public school education and curriculums over the next school year, we're not living in a realistic world. And I was having this conversation with a private school educator via text this week. The allure of these neighborhood educational clusters where teachers are leaving schools, they're going to neighborhoods and teaching 7 kids, and the classes are rotated by week in the home of one of the 7 kids. The allure of these educational clusters where teachers are being paid $50,000, giving insurance, and not being expected to cover school supplies out of their own pocket. You're teaching less kids, you're working not as hard, you're working smarter, and you're arguably having more of an impact on the lives of the 7 children because the teacher-student ratio is smaller. The allure of these neighborhood educational clusters is like Jerry to Kelly Kapowski when he was 16 years old. Oh my God, I could not stop thinking about Kelly Kapowski when I was 16 years old. Tiffany Amber Thiessen, and then she went to 90210 Beverly Hills and matured? Good night. I had a full cutout poster of Kelly Kapowski holding the volleyball just like Zach Morris did. I think Zach stuck it under his bed, a life-size cutout of Kelly with the volleyball under her arm. I had a poster of her on my wall. It's the same kind of allure teachers are having. Jerry to Kelly Kapowski when he was 16, as teachers in public schools are to neighborhood clusters in July of 2020. How's that for a little, whatever you call those things on the SATs? So boys and girls, I mean, this is real. And you know what? Something that I have not been talking about, I learned one piece of fresh content, one piece of fresh tidbit from the New York Times article. You know what it was? I'm getting hot. I need to take this jacket off. I'm sweating. Curtis, I'm not going to throw this on the floor. I was a little fired up yesterday, and I threw my nice Brooks Brothers blazer on the floor, and it got dog hair and dusty on it, and I was very frustrated afterwards. In the moment, it felt good. In the moment, throwing this thing on the floor made me feel like I was freaking rock star. And then I picked it up afterwards, and I'm like, I have to take this thing to get dry cleaning because it's dusty, and it has Judah's dog hair, Judah's dog's dog hair on it. Liza's hair gets over here, too. You know that, Judah, right? Just letting you know. Not that I mind. I freaking love Liza. She's a sweetheart. Anyway, long story short, I learned a couple things from the New York Times article, and by a couple things, I learned one thing. One thing. Private schools, their teachers are even less organized or even more poorly organized from an association or group standpoint than public schools. Furthermore, the teachers in private schools, they're not part of a union. In fact, they probably have language in their contracts about anti-union and anti-associations as part of them getting hired. So why we're not seeing the same kind of bullhorn, let's rally and join the forces, all the teachers coming together in private schools, is because they don't have a union. They're not galvanized. They're not organized. They're not together. They're splintered. And when numbers are splintered, when you're teachers and you don't have the power of numbers or the power of an association, you are much less likely to speak out about something that you're passionate about. Don't you guys think private school teachers are also extremely scared about coming back and teaching in the fall? The only reason we're talking about the public school teachers is because they're more organized and galvanized and have associations like we've seen in Fairfax and in Virginia Beach and in Los Angeles and San Diego. Give the show a like and a share. Give the show a like and a share. Any Facebook, we're live on, I can't even count how many Facebook pages. Live on Instagram, what up? LinkedIn, see you. Twitter, what up? Give it a like, give it a share, give it a tweet. You know what to do. Next headline, Judah Wickhauer. You ready to rock and roll, baby?
I'm waiting.
Oh, okay. How about the Washington Redskins? Okay, another thing. I need to straight up say this. And Judah, why don't we go back and forth on this with the Judah cam here? Am I allowed now, are we allowed now to say the Washington Redskins? I mean, I'm just asking a legitimate question. On Monday, Daniel Snyder, and we don't have to put the headline on screen. On Monday, Daniel Snyder said we're going to change our team name on the record. It's not going to be the Redskins anymore. Are we legally now allowed to use, can we still say Redskins? Judah, you have any thoughts on this?
Legally?
I mean, you know what I mean. We can legally say what we want, but now that it's no longer an NFL team's name or brand or moniker, are we now saying something that is a derogatory slur? Can you imagine, and come back to me here. In fact, go studio cam so people can see that fabulous back head of your hair. He's got a great head of hair, these Wickhauers. The young Cowers have great hair. So can anyone imagine, I'm a diehard Washington Redskins fan. Okay, I just said. I grew up pulling for this team. Okay, grew up pulling for this team. Grew up at a time when this football team, and it still is, every single Sunday we are able to see this team. That's why there's so many fans here, obviously, and also the location. But can you imagine, and I'm going to throw this to you, you don't have to answer this. Can you imagine if this football team was called the Washington Whiteskins? The Washington Whiteskins. Or what if this team was called the Washington Brownskins?
It's not a fair assessment, I don't think.
Okay, not a fair assessment. I'm curious to see where you're going to go with this topic. How is it not a fair assessment?
You're talking about changing the name to something that would today be offensive. And we're talking about a team that named itself not in an offensive thought process, but in a, how do I put it?
Yeah, they try to pay homage to Native Americans when creating the Washington Redskins football team. That's what you're trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah, I just say it more succinctly. I get that, but times have changed.
So does that mean that we fold anytime somebody is the slightest bit offended? I'm just playing the devil's advocate.
I appreciate that, and that's why we're having this conversation, is because you're playing devil's advocate, and my friend, you're doing it very, very, very well. When FedEx goes to Daniel Snyder and says, if you don't change the moniker of the team, we're pulling the naming rights of this stadium, and you're going to get cost millions of dollars. I mean, that's some corporate pressure from when Walmart and Nike say we're pulling the Redskins jersey from our stores in person and from our internet websites. That's going to impact Daniel Snyder's pocket. So we saw corporate America try to leverage money against Snyder to change the moniker. We also saw the murder of a black man in Minneapolis create tremendous social unrest in this country. We saw COVID-19 magnify racial, wealth, and educational disparity from a West Coast to East Coast, from a Montana to Florida and Texas. And we saw a climate in this country as we head into a November election, a climate that is precarious, a climate that is fragile, a climate that is ready to explode, shift its attention to a National Football League organization that now has scuttlebutt of sex parties, of drugs, of mistreatment of women, of a number of other things. Daniel Snyder is left in a position, Judith, I'm going to throw it back to you, and frankly, I've made a tremendous argument here. I'm going to throw it back to you. Daniel Snyder was left in a position where he had so many factors working against him, it was a clash of epic proportions that he could not back down to.
I can't argue with that. I mean, if money is pressuring you to do something, then I guess you do it.
Okay. Yeah. See, Redskins. I can't. Do we say it anymore? The Washington football team from the NFL that's in our nation's capital. Well, not exactly in our nation's capital. Right outside our nation's capital. Daniel Snyder's football team. Sex, drugs, mistreatment of women. They have training camp in Richmond, Virginia. And at training camp in Richmond, Virginia, the voice of the Redskins, Larry Michael, and other members of the organization were going into the Tobacco Company restaurant. I love the Tobacco Company restaurant. My wife and I have been to the Tobacco Company restaurant in Richmond. I love Shockoe Bottom. I love Shockoe Slip. I love Jackson Ward. I love Carytown. I love Richmond. If I moved from Charlottesville, Virginia, this sounds crazy, I would probably move to maybe Richmond, maybe Asheville. Richmond's phenomenal. They have training camp in Richmond. Many of the men paid by the Redskins organization were using training camp as their own personal adult playground. Read the article from the Washington Post, please. They were going to the Tobacco Company afterwards and doing some very concerning things when it comes to cheerleaders and interns within the organization and folks tied to the organization after hours, in particular at the Tobacco Company. I mean, it's a very intriguing topic and a very it's got a lot of layers to the onion, if you may. So we're going to follow this team closely. The next headline that I think we need to put on screen should also concern you. If you could put the no CAA football on screen, please. The next one, guys, comes from NBC 12 in Richmond. It's on screen behind me. Judah, do you have it on air as well?
Yes.
You do? Richmond, William & Mary, and James Madison. These three teams are in the CAA. According to NBC 12 in Richmond, the CAA will not play a league football schedule in the fall of 2020. NBC 12 is citing sources. This impacts Richmond, William & Mary, and James Madison, just to name a few. No CAA football, Richmond, William & Mary, and James Madison, just to name a few. Interesting tidbit from this story. Just because the conference, the Colonial Athletic Association, is canceling its football season, it is still allowing its conference members to field games itself. So if William & Mary, is Jimmy Laycock still the head football coach at William & Mary? I think he is. If William & Mary and Jimmy Laycock want to have a football game at Zabel Stadium, they can do it. It's just the conference they belong to as saying, we're not going to have a conference football schedule this year. So this puts the onus on athletic directors and football teams and universities, if they want to play football, to book and schedule the games themselves. And maybe some of them are going to do that because they need the bank, the dinero, the green, the cheddar, the bills, the coin, because they need some Franklins in their account to pay for overhead and to help a budget that's in shambles because they haven't had sports. So guys, I'm going to say this over and over and over again until I'm blue in the face. We should, I don't think we should say pray. Okay, we pray for different things. I'm a God-fearing man. We pray for health. We lost a panel over there, Judah. We pray for health. We pray for peace. We pray for our families, our loved ones, mankind. So I'm not going to use the word pray. We should extremely, extremely hope and in wishful thinking ask God. The fall football season, we should basically be saying having this fall football season played in front of empty stadiums is the best we're going to get. Frankly speaking, I don't even think we're going to get that anymore. We have a board of supervisors and 6 people who are legitimately contemplating returning Albemarle County from Phase 3 to Phase 2. They have the authority to do this. They're going to write a letter to the governor and do this. So we have 6 people who can't see the forest through the trees, who are handcuffing a community and economic ecosystem across Albemarle County if they do this. We have a football team that probably is not going to be playing this fall. Let's not make it harder on ourselves to get out of this. Jamie Dimon, one of the most respected bankers on Wall Street, a chief executive officer of one of the largest banks out there, on his earnings call this week, he says we're not at the recession point of this situation yet. Yet I'm seeing folks in this community, folks of influence of power, Mayor Walker, Ian Malik, turning their backs toward the local economy, despite what the tea leaves saying that the SHIT is about to hit the proverbial fan. The last thing we need to do is make things more difficult than us. Do we think we're going to have a football season? I mean, Ivy League is done. The CAA is done. The Big Ten is not doing out of conference. Pac-12 ain't doing out of conference. La cucaracha. Ay caramba chico. Barbara Lundgren says, Jerry, you can pray for anything. This impacts lives. All right, I think she's right. Dear Lord, please help this community. Please help all communities, but our hearts here. We need some guidance and some help and a North Star. Something to show us something soon, please. Thank you for everything you have blessed us with. Truly grateful. Feel luckier than ever thought we could be. We're grateful. Amen. 2 more, and then we'll get out of here and wish you guys a good weekend. High school football. High school football in so many communities is like the real deal. Louisa County, when you go into the jungle in Louisa County in Mineral, and you got 6,000 people, and you got Bubba the Lion in a cage circulating the track in Louisa, and you got airplanes flying by, jets, and you got a fire-breathing lion. Literally, this is literally what Louisa County has for its football team. Remember, in Louisa County, you got high school football, and you don't got, you got high school football. So on Friday nights in Louisa County, and I'm just taking Louisa County because they've had success, and I've seen firsthand, I was a sports writer for the Daily Progress. I did broadcast sports television, broadcast ESPN. I know that community extremely well from covering it, especially early on in my career when I got the entry beat. And you go to Louisa on a Friday night, you got 6,000 people in a stadium. You got signs like you see in Varsity Blues or any of those Texas movies about football. You know, you got signs in the windows of the businesses in Louisa County, closed for the game tonight. And you go to Louisa County on a Friday evening and folks are tailgating in that parking lot at 4 p.m. And they're purchasing food from local merchants. They're building a sense of community spirit and goodwill. They feel good about themselves. Consumer confidence, and we're losing and don't have much consumer confidence right now in America because of COVID. Consumer confidence is created and developed in a lot of different ways. One of the ways consumer confidence is created is through quality of life and feeling good about yourself. On a Friday night, you're in Louisa County with your friends and family, eating some fried chicken, drinking some Minutemen from Dave Warwick, drinking some Angel Envies, some bourbons, and hanging with your homies and your family, playing some cornhole, having a catch, and getting ready for a 7:30 kickoff, and then you walk into the stadium at 7:30 in the evening, and you see the players run through a tunnel of balloons and destroy a banner as they sprint on the field, and you see a fire-breathing lion for the Louisa County Lions, and you see a live lion named Bubba in a cage that they push around the gridiron to get people excited for the game. Sometimes Bubba even takes a poop all over the place, and people still love it. Losing Friday football is monumental. Monumental. Right now, there's a coach in Yorktown, Virginia, and football is really feeling the pinch because football needs the most preseason to get your bodies in shape for the pounding of a football season. Football also has a long year when you include the playoffs. So football's in a real bad pinch right now. There's a coach in Yorktown, Virginia, that has made a proposal to the Virginia High School League, and they're legitimately considering it now. And it's to create a bowl schedule like we see in college football. So every high school football team that's public in Virginia will close their year with a bowl game against a like match, against an opponent that is equal in record or power points in stature. He says if you do this bowl season like in college football, you can still have state championships at every level in every division of high school football. And you allow every community and team to have the opportunity to close with a victory, which would be good for morale, consumer confidence, quality of life, and making people feel good in a COVID ecosystem. Folks, we are a resilient, innovative, confident species of people. Humans in general are winners, and that's why humans are atop the pecking order when it comes to the world and the ecosystem. We've evolved faster than apes. We've evolved faster than dinosaurs. We've evolved better than dogs, coyotes, squirrels, or raccoons. From Adam and Eve to where we are now in July of 2020, humans have figured things out. We've managed the Spanish flu. We've managed world wars. We've managed worldwide recessions and depressions. We've managed a Cold War against communism that even infiltrated the White House with politicians in accusatory fashion calling Americans communists. We managed and succeeded that. We have, and I'm not going to go down the political road, but we have someone in the White House where you can undoubtedly question his moral character. I'm just saying that, Judah, nothing else. It's safe to question his moral character. You have somebody else on the ticket that you can question his mental faculty. That's fair to say. That is fair to say. There's a number of proven circumstances of that. So our two choices as humans are an old white guy with sketchy character or an old white guy with sketchy mental abilities. But humans will figure this out because we learn how to create fire, we learn how to find food, we learn how to procreate safely, we learned how to create light, we learned the internet, we learned technology, we've come through recessions and world wars multiple times, we've beat communism, now we're fighting a pandemic, social and civil and racial unrest, and we have two people that are old, white, and not great, but we will survive. We will survive. But if you told me in March of this year that we were going to face a stock market crash, we were going to have 40 million people out of work, we were going to have millions of people sick with the virus, hundreds of thousands of people dead from a virus, if you're going to tell me that we're going to stop the economy, if you were going to tell me that the National Football League might not have a season, college football might not have a season, I might not see Bubba the Lion pushed around the gridiron in Louisa, if you told me all this in March, I would have been like, well, that's going to test our resilience as people. Jeebus. So here we are. Here we are. And I'll close with the buy an island as you get that panel back on screen for us, Judah. I'll close with this on the second iteration of our headline show. Have you noticed how the show and what we're doing here is improving? Every day, someone on the team is figuring out a way to improve what we're doing here for you guys. Every day. Okay? I'll close with a phenomenal story of maybe all of us at one point in 2020 have wanted to do this. And Judah, I'm excited to put this on screen if you could. Give me a thumbs up what it is. Look at it behind me. A wealthy dude in Europe, purchased an entire island off Ireland. You heard me right. A wealthy guy in Europe bought an island off Ireland. You say that 3 times fast. Buy an island off Ireland. Buy an island off Ireland. Buy an island off Ireland. So he bought an island off Ireland for $6.3 million. And you know why this guy? It has a couple of houses on it, helicopter access, has roads, just a dope place to live. You know why this guy bought the island? He wanted to get away from all the BS. He wanted to get away from the BS of social media. He wanted to get away from the BS of politics. He wanted to get away from the BS of COVID. He wanted to get away from the BS of media manipulation. He wanted to get away from the BS of an election year. He wanted to get away from the BS. He wanted to go to an island where he could be with his thoughts and himself, his family, and whoever came with him, and disconnect. Now a dude drops $6.3 million for an island off Ireland. How many of us in a 2020, this is July of 2020, have thought, man, if I could redo this year, or if I could restart this year, or if I can take a flying DeLorean and set the flux capacitor to June of 2019, or better yet, June of 2021, and make sure Doc Brown has the coordinates set correctly. One guy took matters into his own hands, dropped $6.3 million to get away from it all. Props to him. This is the I Love CVille show. I'm going to close with this message. Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. Make some phone calls, do some research. Think about the magnitude of what you're doing if you move us from phase 3 to phase 2. Albemarle County Supervisors, it will be on your hands. It will be on your conscience. It will be on your heart. And it will be your responsibility if the jobs evaporate by taking us from 3 to 2. Because the folks that have reached out to me said if they bring us from phase 3 to phase 2, we're going to lose the business that we fought tooth and nail for to get. We're barely surviving in phase 3, and bringing us to 2, we're just going to shut our doors permanently, and everyone's going to lose their job. And let's not forget about the tax revenue that's not there. Tax revenue that's, without question, going to make 2021 very difficult. This is what I want you guys to do this weekend. I want you guys to do the following, and we'll get out of here on this note. I want you guys to wear a mask. Wear a mask. Leave the house with your mask on. And I want you to go do something outside your home with your mask on. Get outside the house. That doesn't necessarily have to be being around other people at a business. It just means get the heck outside the house. Get some sunshine on your body. Do something active. Get outside the home. And do it this weekend. And enjoy the benefits that comes with that activity. All right, guys, thank you for joining us. Judah Wickhauer, thank you. My name is Jerry Miller. It's the I Love CVille show, Monday at 10:15 a.m. Kelly Jackson and Jamie Schwartz for Women Changing Our World. Kelly and Jamie have the Albemarle County teacher that initiated the letter to the Albemarle County School Board about a virtual-only learning environment. It's going to be a fantastic interview. This show on our network, it's the newest one, Women Changing Our World, Mondays at 10:15 a.m., is fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. Thank you kindly for joining us in the I Love CVille show. Have a good weekend. Good job. Hey. Cheers. Good work.
Thank you.